It was completely my mistake. I did not do my research well enough. I made hasty decisions. Hi everyone, I'm Ziheng. Welcome back to my channel. Today, the tone of my video will be a bit different from my usual style because I will be talking about things that happened 2 years ago. If you've been an audience of this channel for around 2 years, you'd probably know that university admission was a very difficult path for me. I took a gap year in June 2023 to reapply to UK universities because university application did not go very well for me last year, and I decided to try again. But actually this need not be the case. I made a terrible mistake which was very significant, and the impact was felt until this very day. I don't have many regrets in my life, but this. So what did I do which was so terrible that I had to take a gap year to compensate for that mistake? What was it that I have done which caused me to be a year behind and had to delay a normal and healthy university life? This was my decision to drop an A-level subject. Yes, you heard it right. Dropping an A-level subject was the worst mistake in my university application career, and I do not recommend any of you to ever drop an A-level subject. And right now I'm going to discuss the reasons and what happened to me a year ago so you don't make the same mistake. Let's dive right in. So it all started in around June 2022 when I've completed my AS exam. And I think I wasn't very mentally mature back then. So a lot of tragedy that affects me currently could have been avoided if I have made the right decisions. So initially I had 4 A-level subjects. These subjects were decided right when we enter the college. So you have to decide what course you are aiming for. If you haven't decided yet, the college will ask you to have sort of a rough mental idea of what you want to do in the future. And so you base your subject combination on that mental picture. Basically what you want to study at university. So at that time I picked 4 A-level subjects, which are maths, further maths, econs, and biology. So you didn't hear me talk about biology a lot right now because I dropped it right after I've completed my AS exam. Now that I think back at it, I think it was a very rushed decision. I did not think well enough about what the consequences might be. I just hastily dropped the subject. And let me tell you the reasons why I dropped it. It wasn't that I did bad for AS exam. After the result came out in August, I realized that I got 87%, so an A for AS biology. And biology wasn't that hard either. I think that if I put in the hard work, I might be able to get an A star in the end for this subject. But at the time, I really couldn't pick up the motivation to continue studying for the subject. And the reason was quite simple. So initially, when I did my IGCSE in my secondary school, I picked biology as my only science subject. So right from the very start, at the age of around 14, I have decided not to continue on other science subjects. So those are physics and chemistry. I continued doing biology because I think it was quite an interesting subject, at least more interesting than learning about mathematical formulas as you do in physics, or about various kinds of oxide that you couldn't even create a mental image of. But biology was more lively to me. It was about animals, plants, and humans. So I decided to take biology. So that was a very long time ago. After I've completed IGCSE, I got a 96% for IGCSE biology. I decided, well, biology is easy. I could do it very well. So I decided, why not? I continued to do biology as one of my A-level subjects. So it was all very well back then, and then I started attending classes. So this is the part where it began to go downhill. So biology classes, if you know the subject, you probably know that biology was quite a heavy subject. It has a lot of difficult terms, or I should say professional science terms, that is not applicable to other subjects. Because my other 3 subjects are economics, maths, and further maths, the knowledge learned in one of these subjects is applicable to the other. But biology, it was very different. So you get a feeling where for the other 3 classes, you go along one path, but for biology, you're going a completely different path. And in the second half of my AS year, I met a couple of friends which had quite a profound influence on me, which is basically recommending me to study law at university. Was it a daring decision? Well, I did not think so at the time, because I talked to my friends and family members about my decision to maybe try law, applying for law at university, and they were all very encouraging because we know being a lawyer is quite a prestigious prospect. Being a lawyer generally means well respected. So I don't get a lot of opposition from my family members and my friends. So that's what I did. I started reading some law books and exposing myself to the different fields of law studies, like criminal law, tort law, or constitutional law, and started reading up a bit, and I decided I quite liked the subject, or at least I could handle it quite well. So at the time, I was beginning to feel very committed about studying for law at university. As the feeling emerged, my interest for biology began to decline. And if we look at it retrospectively, we could see quite clearly why this is the case. Because biology and law are very different, they have very different subject matters. And I started to get the kind of feeling that the things I learned in biology doesn't really apply to a law course at university. And right now, I can say to you quite clearly that 99% of what you learn in A-level, unless probably in maths or some more technical subjects, wouldn't be applied at a university course. I know this because a professor from Queen Mary, he told me that universities generally don't prefer to have students take A-level law because it is completely different from what the universities are teaching, and oftentimes they need to make the student forget about what they learned in A-level law in order to get them to pick up new things at university. And it's even worse if you take a subject like A-level biology and decided to pick law as your university course instead. So that was what I felt initially after I did my AS exam. I asked a few friends regarding whether I should drop A-level biology as a subject, and the feedback was negative. So they didn't encourage it. Some say that, well, you're going to start university application now, so why don't you defer it and see if in the future you might decide that dropping A-level biology wasn't a wise thing to do. So I went to the biology lab and told my teacher about my decision or my intention to drop biology as my A-level subject. I told her my reasons. I don't think I have passion for A-level biology anymore, and I decided I want to quit the subject because it was becoming too much of a nuisance to me, and I don't think I have the motivation to continue studying for the subject anymore. I also told her I want to read law at university, so my biology knowledge would not be applicable in the future. So now that I think back at it, I think that was a very immature statement, because A-level to the current me is not really about just the knowledge. It is also about the discipline which you gradually build up as you continue on your A-level course, and your ability to master 3 to 4 subjects and do well at them at the same time. So it was more about building up the academic rigor to prepare you for university life. Of course, the knowledge itself is quite important. You do need this knowledge to do well or build up a good foundation for your learning at university, but definitely don't make the mistake to think that just because your knowledge learned at A-level will not be applied to your university course, then you have to drop the subject. No, that is faulty reasoning. So I know things probably sound well and good as of this stage because you haven't heard me talk about the consequences, which I am going to do now, but the consequences weren't felt when I initially dropped the subject. So after my biology teacher gave permission for me to drop the subject, I got the kind of feeling that you were carrying 10 pounds of rice and then all of a sudden it was taken away from your back, so that you get a very strong sense of relief. So that's what I felt back then when I initially dropped the subject. Initially, my timetable was full, so it was one class after another with very little breaks in between. But after biology was gone, my time was all freed up. But that was only the sunshine before the rain. Then came university application period. So at that time, I couldn't describe the atmosphere. Everyone was talking about university admissions all the time. I made a video back then when I was in college saying that I don't understand why everyone was talking about university admissions all the time. But I took it down for fear of my friends might watch it. Yeah, you could get the kind of feeling that the atmosphere was all tensed up and people were aiming Oxbridge, the Ivy Leagues, all the best universities. And while you're in that friend group, you also get the kind of pressure to do well for your exam and to apply to the most prestigious universities ever on earth. So at that time, I was dead set on Oxford Law, and that's what I applied to. So I applied with 3 A-level subjects. Initially, I had 4, but I dropped biology halfway, so I only had AS biology. So my predicted grades are for further maths and economics, but at that time, I have already received my A-level mathematics grades, which is A star. Because the way things are handled in my college was that our college arranged for us to sit for both AS and A2 mathematics in our first year to build up a solid foundation so that we could master further maths more easily. Because a lot of time, the knowledge required for A-level further mathematics is built on the knowledge of A-level maths. So if you learn all the prerequisite knowledge of A-level mathematics, it is easier for you to progress onto further maths. So that's how it was arranged in my college. There was no right or wrong, but I would say it was unfortunate that in my case, it was arranged this way. So I'll now explain what I mean. Basically, the situation was that a lot of universities, especially for their more prestigious and competitive courses, they have a very stringent requirement, which is you have to sit for all your A-level subjects under the same sitting. So I'll give a few examples. UCL Law and NUS require to sit for at least 3 subjects in the same sitting. So how did it apply to me? Remember that I told you I have already dropped A-level biology, so I had 3 subjects left. But I've completed my A-level mathematics in the first year, so I had only 2 more subjects which should be taken in the final year. Now, these 2 subjects did not meet the requirement of these universities, which require me to sit for at least 3 subjects in the same sitting. Well, I did have 3 subjects, but I sat for it in 2 separate sittings. So I actually did not meet the requirement for some of these universities. But as I've said, at the time I wasn't very mentally matured. I did not know how to do a thorough research. I just go with the flow, go with what others are doing, aiming for the best, but did not have any backup plans whatsoever. So I just applied to UCL and all these prestigious universities and hoped that I would get a good result. So the consequence of my lack of planning eventually hit me. Around 3 to 4 months later, UCL sent me an email saying that I was disqualified from applying to their law course because I did not sit for 3 subjects in the same sitting. At that time, I was even angry with their decision because I thought, does it make a difference that I sat for it in 2 separate sittings instead of 1? My workload is essentially the same. I'm also taking 3 subjects, so why the differential treatment? But of course, I shouldn't think of it that way. It was completely my mistake. I did not do my research well enough. I made hasty decisions, and I shouldn't blame anyone else. But it was too late for me to take up A-level biology again. As I've mentioned, at the time it was already around 3 to 4 months into A2 biology. If you're an A-level student, you would know that it was impossible for you to catch up for this subject in 4 months unless you're really into the subject and you are willing to put in a lot of additional effort just to catch up. But I have lost passion for biology, and whenever I open up the biology textbook, I just felt very sleepy and didn't want to study for the subject, and therefore I knew it was impossible for me to pick up the subject again. And the most important reason is that my university application was already submitted. So picking up A-level biology again would not make a tiny bit of difference. So after I got disqualified from UCL Law, I received another rejection letter, this time from LSE. So what about LSE? They said that the rejection reason was that my subject combination wasn't broad enough. So LSE has a very special clause which other universities don't share. Basically, LSE wants students who take a broad range of subjects because they believe that this will make the students more versatile and more competitive so that they could cope well with the LSE environment. So they think that my subject combination is too maths-based and too maths-focused, and so they rejected my application. Again, I think that if I have chosen to continue doing AS biology, I really would have gotten an offer from both UCL and LSE in my first year of application. Now, it was a very sad fact. If I have gotten an offer from either LSE or UCL Law in my first year of application, I probably would have flied to the UK to attend my studies instead of taking a gap year. Now, you know that I am very emotionally attached to this channel, and you could still find my reaction videos when revealing the decisions of UCL and LSE in my first year of application. And the rest is history. I decided to take a gap year to reapply to UK universities and pick up History A-level as my 4th subject and got an A-star for the subject, and right now receiving an offer from UCL Economics. It was like a roller coaster ride. Life is full of ups and downs. I got disqualified very early on during my first application to UCL, but right now in my 2nd year I received an offer from UCL Economics course. Now, I haven't mentioned a word about my application to study in NUS. Basically, they have a requirement for you to sit for at least 3 A-level subjects in the same year. So what's the deal now? You know that I took History A-level as a private candidate in October, but my maths was taken in June. The other 2 subjects, further maths and economics, was taken in June. So if we take a 1-year period, we could either encompass history, further maths, and economics as taken within a single year, or we could pick maths, further maths and econs as taken within a single year. So maths and history, because they were too far away, I could only choose one between them. So in the end, I decided to apply with my mathematics results and not my history results, because I think mathematics is more traditional and more suitable for the course which I am applying for. So I am still currently waiting for a decision from NUS. So I don't think it's very wise for us to jump to a conclusion before a decision was received regarding my application. So let's not talk about NUS for a second. So the key message which I want you to take away from this video is this: never ever drop an A-level subject just because you think you've lost passion for it. The wise thing you should do is to just stick on with it. You've made the decision since the start and don't give up halfway. It turned out terribly for me, and I'm quite sure that if you made the decision to drop an A-level subject, it would turn out pretty bad for you too. Now, if you really couldn't handle another A-level subject, you just had to drop it, or else all the 4 A-level subjects you take would go to waste, and you reach the point where you just couldn't cope. I have a better solution for you. So what you should do is just complete the university application first. After you submitted it and receive offers from the universities that you want to attend, then at that point, you could consider dropping an A-level subject. So I'm talking about after you've received an offer from, let's say, Oxbridge or LSE, then you could contact the university and ask them whether you could drop one or more A-level subjects that you're currently taking, which are not required to meet the conditions of your offer. I know a few of my friends did it. Basically, they applied with 4 A-level subjects. Then after they received the offer, they contacted the universities which they've applied to, and the university told them, yes, you could drop one of your subjects. So I would say this is quite a nice hack if you're thinking about dropping an A-level subject. But the worst thing you could do is to drop the subject before you apply to universities, because then you will be applying with 3 A-level subjects instead of 4, and it will disadvantage your application. Now, I am suggesting this hack to you because of its practicality. Do I think this system is fair? Do I think that universities should have differential treatment for those students who drop the subject early on before they start the application, as opposed to dropping the subject after they receive offers from university? No, I do not think it is fair, but that's just how it is. Some students are smart, they hack the system, they got an offer and then they drop one of their subjects and receive 0 consequence. But I guess in this case, I am the dumb one who got into trouble for dropping an A-level subject. And I don't hope you make the same mistake as I did. So in conclusion, should you ever drop an A-level subject? No, at least in most circumstances, you shouldn't drop an A-level subject, because it would gravely disadvantage your university application. Trust me, I have experienced it. It worked out terribly for me, and I don't want you to make the same mistake again. But if you have to drop an A-level subject, if you really couldn't cope, you don't want to do it, then there is another solution for you. Apply to the universities first with 4 A-level subjects or 5 A-level subjects. Then after you receive offers from these universities, then you could contact the universities to ask them whether you could drop 1 or 2 subjects which aren't part of your condition. This is the wiser way of going about things, and you would not be punished for dropping A-level subjects. So never just drop subject from the outset. So that's it for this video. I hope this video is useful for you, and if it is, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. We'll see you in the next video. Bye!